Welcome. Today we're going to be discussing the technique buckling branch and how to relate it to other techniques in the American Kenpo system. So keep in mind, this is not a comprehensive list and it's not family grouping. What it is just different ways and avenues that you can explore this technique as it fits into the American Kenpo system. So let's start out with what we're doing. Okay? We're dealing with a line of attack, in this case a front kick. It's coming at us. Generally speaking, there are four things that we can do. One of which we generally don't consider, and that is just standing there and getting hit. Okay? But that leaves us with three remaining ones. So let's start out with what they are, and then let's go into the techniques that relate to them. So the first one would be, let them stay on their line of attack, and let's move ourselves off their line of attack. Okay? Second one would be the opposite of that. Okay? We want to stay on the line of attack. We're going to move them off the line of attack. And then there's buckling branch, which does the combination of the two. So in this case, we're going to get off the line of attack, and we're going to move them off the line of attack. So let's demonstrate that. So they do the kick, we block it off, and we move off. Okay? So let's pick up the next one of that. Let's go back into, say, thrusting salute. And that would be where we block onto that line of attack, but don't move them off the line of attack, but we move ourselves off the line of attack. Then let's pick up the last one, where we actually stay on the line of attack, but we block them off the line of attack. But if you'll notice, I turn my back to the opponent. We can also do the exact same thing, but do it with us facing them, and that would give us something like a defensive cross. Okay? So up to now, we've been dealing with a front kick, but that's not the only kick that we can deal with. There are a variety of different other ways in which our opponent can kick. So let's go through some of those. So up to now, it's the net front kick. So let's turn it into a side kick. That would bring us something like a hugging pendulum. Okay? We can then do something like turning the foot vertical again, but now upside down from the front kick. That would give us something like a retreating pendulum. Okay? Up to now, these have all been lines. They don't have to be lines, they can be circles. Something like a swinging pendulum would demonstrate a circle. We can do a combination. So there's two different types of combinations. One would be with the same leg, one would be with two legs. Okay? So let's start out with one where it's a front and then a circle. That brings us something like a detour from doom. And then there could be where they use both legs, in this case both on lines. That would bring us something like a rotating destruction. Okay? So we've gone through all the stuff that they're doing and how we're reacting to it. So let's talk about one of the basics that we're using, or one of the attacks that we're using here, the scoop kick, okay? And some varieties of how we're going to deal with that scoop kick. So if we look at the original technique, buckling branch, we're going to take this scoop kick, which is a front scoop kick, toes up, and hit them from the rear. Okay? Well, we can flip that around. Okay? Let's do two other ones that we can think of. So let's go into something like a gathering clouds, where we come in here, and guess what? We're going to do that same scoop kick, but now from the front. Or we can do something that's very similar to that, but put it near the end of the technique, and that would bring us into something like an unfurling crane. Into here, the scoop kick. Okay? But that's not the only way we can do a scoop kick. Up to now, our toes have been up. We can flip it over and make the toes pointing down or the heel pointing up. Okay, and that would bring in something like, say, a squeezing the peach. Okay, we can do it slightly different in this case, under the silk, or even one more that we might want to do, which is intercepting the ram. So once we get into here, we do this hit and then the scoop at the very end. And notice it also went from the groin to the face. Okay? So in recap, how did we relate this technique to other techniques? Well, we did it through how we can do scoop kicks. We did it through the different ways in which they can do their kicks, fronts, rounds, backs, sides, all that. And then we went into the standard response, whether we're going to stay on the line of attack, off the line of attack, or both. Hope this video helps you understand the American Kenpo system just a little bit better. Thank you very much.